An appointment, you can't say because you're appointed to become a minister, therefore you're a revolutionary. No, it doesn't work like that. A revolutionary is born out of struggle. While we were negotiating, some of us were targeted to be killed. And some of the people who were calling themselves ANC were part and parcel of that plot to kill me. ANC has been hijacked by people who are not ANC.
Yeah.
Who wear the colors of the ANC. Who were spies.
Yes.
Who came to the ANC, they wanted to access government so that they can steal through corruption in the ANC. How do we rectify that?
Yeah.
Matthew Posa is known as a lawyer there. He was never part of us in the underground.
Yeah.
If he was in the underground, I don't know that.
Today, sitting next to me, a true veteran of the ANC. This is somebody who is from the generation that really fought for our freedom, was in the trenches. He's also part of the generation that formed the first democratic government, put those structures in place, re-established the ANC inside the country after the unbanning of the political organizations. Yeah, he's a veteran himself, Mr. Jacques Modipane. Welcome, sir, to the People's Eye podcast. I will just leave it a little bit to you to introduce yourself better.
Right.
Because I might leave some of the very important details the new generation needs to understand who you are.
Right.
Yeah.
Caesar, thank you very much. And thank you for the opportunity. It comes once in a lifetime. Thank you very much. I'm actually, I consider myself very lucky to speak to you and also to inform the young people about themselves, their history, the little that I know. It doesn't stretch very far because I just turned 65 last year.
Oh, 65.
Yeah. I turned 65 last year.
You guys don't age. Most of you, the apartheid government gave you the right injection.
We grew up not eating Kentucky fried chicken and we were eating pap and Morocco.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me just start by telling you who I am. My name is, I was born Busang.
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 Okay.
Because I am a Botswana.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We always say that we come from Botswana, but not the Botswana of today.
Yeah.
Botswana, the original Botswana.
Okay.
The original Botswana starts from Middelburg, from Oliphant River. That's where the original Botswana starts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kgoshi Tshwane.
Yes.
Mamelodi, sometimes people don't know whether Mamelodi was the daughter of Tshwane or the wife of Tshwane.
Yeah.
So the original Botswana starts from Oliphant. The Oliphant River was the boundary, right? And it goes that when it goes into the north, Oliphant continues to be the boundary between Sekhukhune and Swaziland. Yeah. Where we are sitting now, when you talk about Mpumalanga, you're talking about Eswatini. That is why Sizwe. Megamek Falls. You know Megamek Falls?
Yes.
Megamek Falls are named after Prince Megamek, the prince, the son of the king.
Yeah.
Mashishin, Leidenberg, is named after Prince Shishila, the son of the king.
So this was a Swazi territory.
This is Swaziland. And then you move Sudwala. It was Ndlovukazi, Queen Mother, Sodwala.
Okay.
If you want to know about that history, speak to Dlamini, to Kondela.
Yeah.
Will tell you. So, in other words, I'm trying to say to you that it's not wrong that this province is called Mpumalanga because it is part of, it is Eswatini. Before the white men came and destroyed our
the international border.
They just destroyed everything. Anyway. Yeah, and so on. So, I was born Busang Modipane, and then my family is coming from northern Botswana, between Palatre and Francistown.
Oh, okay.
That's where my family is coming from.
Okay.
Yeah. The reason why our progenitor came inside, Sekhukhune asked him, I come from a medicinal war herbalist. Okay. My family was made out of war herbalist.
Okay.
When the Basotho, the Bapedi, you know the people in Bushbuckridge, you call them Mapulan.
Yes.
There's no tribe called Mapulan.
There's not?
No, ke Bapedi. A part of the Sekhukhune people, Bapedi.
Yeah.
But they come from a place called Pulana.
Oh.
Pulana, which the chief of Pulana is Sehodi.
Okay.
Now in Bushbuckridge it has changed now. They call it Sehodi.
Okay.
But it's Sehodi.
Okay.
Now Sehodi is the 5th generation of Kgoshi Mopedi. Mopedi gave birth to Maleka. Maleka gave birth to Malekana. Malekana gave birth to Sehodi. Sehodi gave birth to Mashile.
Okay.
So the royal family of the people in Bushbuckridge, the people who call Mapulan, it's Sehodi. He's the son of Sehodi Mashile.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now you've got so many chiefs, Bushbuckridge.
Yeah.
But this is the white man's as distortion. We are not supposed to have many Magoshis in Bushbuckridge. The only family which must produce Magoshi in Bushbuckridge is Mashile.
Okay.
Now, here is the tragedy. When they started disintegrating in Ulana from Kgoshi Sehodi, who gave birth to Mashile, or the Bapedi, they then decided to leave to go and join Sekhukhune, who was already established in the north because they were fighting there. Then they said, we're scared to go through the north, follow the path which was traveled by Botswana. Because Botswana traveled through the north.
Okay.
They through the west, through the west, to go and settle where they are, because they are cousins. They then went to the king of Mswati and said, Inkosi sicela indlela. Asiyilwi, sicela indlela, saba ukuthi masihamba ngala, Mzilikazi is going to kill us. Mzilikazi was very cruel. Because he was now ruling around Marikana, Rustenburg and everything at that stage, So then he says, no, it's fine, but we'll keep on monitoring you. So they were moving. Now it's a tribe moving. The people are moving. Food get finished, they've got cattle, they're old, they die, and so where they bury them, food become scarce, then they stop, they plow, they harvest, and then they move. On their last leg to jump the Olifants River to go into Sekhukhune land by that time, King Sekhukhune is assassinated by his own generals under the auspices of Mampuru, Kgoshi Mampuru. You know Mampuru prison? Because in the setup of things of the Marudeng or the Bapedi kingdom as Sekhukhune was not supposed to be a king. He's coming from the senior wife who does not produce kings. He produced the owners, the stewards of the kingship. But he became a good general. He fought battles. Fought battles. In fact, he created that nation you call Bapedi.
Okay.
But when the time came, they said, "Oh, look, give the rightful heir to the throne now." That's where the problem started. And then he's being killed. These ones who come from Bolana, they're on their way there. Then they say, "Listen, the king we're going to go into him now is killed. If we go there, they're going to kill us. What do we do now?" Then two streams emerge. The Kgoshi says, the chief of the of Mapulana says, "No, let's go to King Mswati and ask him to accommodate us, to make us his children." Then the hardliner says, "No, we cannot be governed by people who don't get circumcised." Now I don't know if you read. I don't know because the Swazis were circumcising. That's why you have got what you call Mambai. Mambai and so on. There's a Mboyane people. They circumcise. Then they refuse. Then the split started. Their chief refused. They said, "No, we must attack, we must also fight Swazis. And the king says, you cannot fight Swazis, we are too small, and it's wrong because we negotiated.
Yeah, they gave you help.
They helped us. Why do we want to do that now? No, we're not going to do that. Then, the king in Swazis says, hamba nobuta lo labo kunene ukuthi ngoba lo muntu lenkosi bayakuwele sebayabulela basaqhubeka, are they still follow continuing now? He sent his emissaries to go and look for them.
Yeah.
When they went to a place called Squaterland, that's where they were temporarily.
Yeah.
The last push to go into Skukun.
Yeah.
They don't find them. They look for them. They get the spy. They said, where are the people? He says, no, they're up in the mountain. Where are they now? In Maripskop. And that's why you've got Maripskop.
Oh, Maripskop.
Because they named that place after the king who plotted that skirmish.
Okay.
Now, the younger generation is being told that there was a war between the Swazis and Mapulanas. There was no war. There's no way in which they could have fought the Swazi impis.
Yeah.
They were established impis, really experienced, and they were just a small clump of people who were going in there.
Yeah.
Then those committees, those people, without being instructed by anybody, they killed some of those people, emissaries who were sent in. Then they were started running back, and they were able to say, hey, those people are killing us now. Then the king, we are told, released the impis. They cross over through Babaton. Okay. It's not Babaton, it's called, that's why the name of that place today is called what? Babaton, Mjindi. Yeah. Now, in your Sazri language or in your Nguni language, the word Mjindi means this far and no further. Yeah, la baba like was manja sabaleke sebakitsi bafikile manje. So ba plan manje. Right? The history says 4 white people, white settlers, who got contracts to farm in Eswatini, then approached the king. They says, king, don't invade those people, don't attack them. They are desperate. And it was not the king who made them to kill the few people who sent in there to go and find out what are they going to do. It was just a few mavericks. So demand that those people who killed your people must be handed over to you. But feel pity for them, because if they push in to go in there, they're going to be killed there, because those people there, they're going to say they're coming to avenge or revenge the death of Skukun. Why? We propose that allow them to stay in the north of Mgwenya River. And they become your subjects. Okay. Mswati took that advice. It was Mr. Babaton, it was Mr. Warburton, Mr. Emelo, Chris Mia, and Mr. Standerton. Okay. These are the people who were given contracts to farm by King Mswati. That's why today you've got farms called the Emelo, called Chris Mia, called the Warburton, called the Standerton. Those are the 4 white people who intervened to say, no, don't kill them, king. They're desperate. Make them your people. We propose that allow them to stay in the north of Mgwenya River. Okay. Right? That's why you've got Masoi Traditional Council here. Kamashio. Okay. Kamashio. And then the king took his, stationed his brothers as indunas. The white man, when he came in, he issued certificates and he said, you are all chiefs now. Right? So why I'm telling you this is because I want to give you the history that you understand, that we should not lie to our younger generation and tell them that the land belongs to Mapulana. No, it belongs to us because King Mswati allowed us to stay here. Okay. Not my people, of course. My people came later from Botswana because we were war herbalists to assist. And then they incorporated us. Both my grandparents, both paternal and maternal, Kebapedi. Right? Okay. And that's why my name Busang transformed and became Bushang. Okay. Well, Jacques, that name was imposed on me the first day when I went to school.
That happens.
I didn't have a white name or a colonial name or a slave name, and the principal refused to register me. And he says, no, go back. My mother said, but he doesn't have any other name. He says, well, go back home. When he has got a so-called Christian name, you can bring him back.
Yeah, it was the case.
So my mother were going, I remember my mother was crying. So as we were walking, my uncle is coming, went to visit us. Yeah. They said, no, your sister took the son to school now. So my uncle was riding his bicycle. He followed us. He meets us on the road. Then my mother says, no, we couldn't register him because they say they want a white people's name and he doesn't have one. He says, no, my boss name is Jacques. Let's go back. Then we went back to the principal and my uncle says, no, his name is Jacques. So on that day I became Jacques. So it's not Jacques, it's Jacques, French Jacques.
It's Jacques.
Yes,
Jacques.
you understand.
Yeah. Okay.
But we were not colonized by the French, we were colonized by the English. So the spelling started, 2 battles. I fought 2 battles with the principal who refused to accept the spelling from my uncle because my uncle was not educated. Because he gave him the spelling, he took that paper and he threw it in the dustbin. And he wrote Jacques to drink coffee. Yeah, I became Jacques. Then when I went to take the ID, the official, I tried to write because I wrote my final exam. We had a tragedy. We were the first people to write a primary external examination in 1975. Remember, they used to write to go to standard 6.
Oh, that's when you'd get a certificate.
Yes. But then when we came, they took standard 6 to secondary. Yeah. Then we were the first to write the standard 5 as the external exam. Oh. Now, I'm below age. I don't have 16 years. Then they gave me 1 year. So they said I'm born 1958. But actually, I was not born 1958. Oh. So my ID is 1 year older than me.
Yeah. Well, it was for you to get the ID so that you could get the certificate.
I was not going to write the exam. They were very strict during that time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so the principal said, no, give him 1 year. Write that he was born in 1958. And unfortunately, I was born in 1959. Right. So that is it. Now, where was I born? I was born in the Hoedspruit district. Okay. It was not Hoedspruit. Yeah. It was Mtlatsungwane. It was at that stage the chieftainship of Mashilo was splitting. Yeah. There was a new one called Chilwan. Okay. Today they call it Muletele Tribal Authority. Okay. So we were there, and my great grandfather was the head man of that chief. Okay. Makatikile Modipane. Yeah. Because he was respected because he was a medicinal man. So he was made an Induna there. Okay. So we were there. That was the ancestral land. Okay. Until we were evicted. The eviction started in 1957. Remember, the National Party took over in 1948. Yeah. Then the evictions started in 1957. But the final eviction of all of us in Hoedspruit, all the Hoedspruit, your Hazyview, your Sabi, your everything, they finalized it in 1963. Okay. So 63, there was nobody. The only people who were remaining there were just families who were the farm tenants. Okay. So that's what happened. So we were dumped in Bushbuckridge, where at least churches were able to build schools. Okay. The schools that we went in there was built by a Lutheran church. Yeah. The secondary school was built by the Nazarene Church, American Church. Okay. The school you called Maripi. They used to call it Maripi, where Matthew Posa went to school, high school too. Yeah. It was mentioned after the king, Maripskop. Oh. So it was called Marip. But because it was located within where the area where the Shangaan people who came into South Africa after they had a problem with the Portuguese there, they came to South Africa, they couldn't pronounce Maripe. They called it Maripi. Oh, yeah. Okay. Then later, when bantustans asserted themselves, that territory was given to the Tsonga Shangaan people. Okay. Then they said, we don't want this name here. Then they renamed Maripi High School into a new name called Orobelane. Okay. Orobelane means kneel down and drink water. Orobelan Mpuzamati. So it became Orobelan. Then in 1976, I was always lucky. When new things start, I'm part of it, Then they created, when we were supposed to go to secondary school, there's no secondary school except Lekita High School, and it's full. Then they recreated that name. They formed the school again, Maripe, in 1976. Then we were the first generation to go to new school called Maripe, renaming it with the original school, which was taken by the Tsonga Shangaan people. Right. That is briefly how it is. You're talking about the Bushbuck Ridge area. Which is now, and it was not called Bushbuck Ridge. Bushbuck Ridge was the name of the shop of one guy called Mackintosh, a British expatriate. Mackintosh. Bushbuck Ridge, after the Second World War, they farmed peanuts. So all those farms there, I'm sure you've asked yourself why Bushbuck Ridge, the villages, all the names are English. Bushbuck, Goldenberg, Clare, Sillington, MP Stream, and everything. All the names in Bushbuck Ridge are English names. These are the soldiers who were compensated, the British soldiers who were compensated for fighting the Second World War. They were given Bushbuck Ridge. The land was fertile for planting peanuts. So they demarcated that place, and then they gave them and so on. So all of it, Green Valley, Brook Lane, Arthur Seat, Goldenberg, Yuda. You go on, all Bushbuck, Belfast. When you are in Bushbuck Ridge, actually you are in Great Britain. All the villages are English. They compensated them with the land in Bushbuck Ridge. Then they started planting peanuts there. Then Mr. Mackintosh established a post where he was selling peanuts. Right? And then he named that shop Bushbuck Ridge Shop. Because it was in a ridge. You know, Bushbuck Ridge is a ridge. Drakensberg, which was rich in bucks, and it's called Bushbuck Ridge. But when those people, the Bapedi, when they come in, the people who call Mapulana, they then named the place Mapulaneng. Mapulaneng. That is why when the municipality of Bushbuck Ridge was established, then you remember there was war between the Shangans and the Pedis, which was orchestrated by the apartheid regime on tribal wars. They made us fight. And originally, we never knew that there was a Shangaan, there was a Mupedi. We didn't know that. But the white man, when he came, started these bantustans. They started telling us that, no, we're not the same people. Those people are Shangans.
Some must move to Kazangu.
You are Pedis. You must belong to the Pedis in there. And then they started demarcating the places. And then, because of parochial thinking, people started fighting one another. And today we still have that problem today. That is why you have got the Bushbuck Ridge municipality. Why do we call a municipality in Africa Bushbuck Ridge after the shop of Mr. Mackintosh? Why don't we give it the name of Eswatini and call it Ehlanzeni local municipality? You understand? Because it could be called Ehlanzeni local municipality, but not Bushbuck Ridge.
So was it never raised, that matter of
Well, we
changing
tried. At the time, the popular name, they wanted to call it Mapulane. But someone who said,
Still
look,
divisive.
we're entrenching tribalism. Let's not do that. If we want an African name, why don't we go to Eswatini, so that they tell us exactly what is the name of this place? That is why later the rightful name came, Ehlazeni. You have got Ehlazeni district now.
But it was given to a district.
That is the rightful name. Because Eswatini, it's the land of the Swati people. I always fight people when they say that people who come from Eswatini, they come here, they're foreigners. Eswatini people can't be foreigners in Mpumalanga. They can't be. We are foreigners ourselves.
That's this debate, man.
You call Dlamini people, you call them foreigners in Mpumalanga. in South Africa.
No, I mean,
No.
as you were saying, we were really indoctrinated to hate each other.
Yeah, to hate each other.
Because Sithole, who is a Zulu, then thinks that Sithole, who is a Shangaan, is not, does not belong, is not related to him.
You know, my grandfather, my grandmother, my mother is a Swati. Because my grandfather was born in Swaziland. Yeah. And then they came to work in Barberton mine. Yeah. Right? And the next thing, a fence was created. Now they're no longer in Swaziland, now they're in South Africa. Yeah, all of a sudden. Yeah. So I have blood of Shangaan people in me. I have blood of Botswana people in me. I have blood of Nigerian people in me. I have blood of the Rwandan people in me. So what am I? Exactly. I'm an African. Actually, basically, no one is one thing. Yes. No one is one thing, actually. But here is the white man who comes in to steal our identity and calls himself the Afrikaner. Sees if the European is called an Afrikaner, what are you? Because that is your identity. Exactly. If the white man in Europe is called an American, what are those African people who are indigenous in America? Those American people who are indigenous in America. What are they? What are they? If the European calls himself, I'm an American. Yeah. So that is basically the history where I come from, just to tell you where I come from. Yeah. Now, moving forward, I don't know what is going to be your next question, but let me talk about. No, you're still introducing yourself. You've gone to the history. Yes. You have not come. You've started now to tell us where your ancestors. So when we were finally, my ancestors are coming from historically Botswana, and I always tell people not Botswana of today, Botswana of the original Botswana. The original. Yeah, the original Botswana. And indeed, the original Botswana was not Bushbuckridge. The original Botswana's boundary is Oliphant River. Yeah. On the north, you've got another river there which was separating the Ndebele people from the Bapedi people. Okay. Right? Yeah. There's a river there, Rosenegal. You know Rosenegal? Yes, along Rosenegal. Yeah. There's a boundary which they agreed that the Ndebele people will be this side. Yeah. So your so-called, which come later, your Dalmas, your everything is Ndebele people. Coming again, even part of the Swaziland. So Swazi people and the Ndebele people, sometimes they say, some Ndebele settled as close as Belfast. Yeah. Yeah, Belfast. They were living there. Yeah. And so then later, our progenitor came in because he was all herbalist. So we're integrated into Bapedi, who were part of. Bapedi are the byproduct of Basotho. Yeah. Basotho. Yeah. Basotho are the byproduct of Nguni and the Baswara, the Khoisan. Oh, yeah. You know, the word Botswana is actually Botswana. It was because when the Bantus came down, they found the Khoisan in. Yeah. Some said, let us integrate with them. Some said, no, these people are too dark. We don't know, and they're too loud and all those other things. No, we must be very careful. Then some said, no, we think we must integrate with them. Then they said, well, if that's the case, let's go separate ways. Yeah. So, we are laymen nationally, you understand? So, then by that implication, we found ourselves in Eswatini to join those Bapedi who came in, and then automatically we became part of what we call today Mapuland. Yeah, Mapuland. Okay, so that's it. History. Then let's talk about I went to school there. I studied the school in Bushbuckridge until matric. I finished in Bushbuckridge. I went to two high schools, Maribe, which was started by my generation.
Yeah.
It didn't
76.
the second version of Maripe in 1976.
Yeah.
And then I also went briefly to Lekita High School,
Okay.
which was again started by the church called the Nazarene Church.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do these schools still exist that you attended? The schools, are they still existing?
Yeah, they're still there.
Okay.
Yeah, Lekita High School, which it used to be called Arthur Seat Secondary School.
Okay.
But later it changed into Maripe. Later it changed into Lekita High School.
Yeah.
Then Maripe name was brought in Maripe. So I went to Maripe and I went to Lekita High School.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Great.
Now, how did I find myself into politics at a young stage?
Yeah.
My father was a migrant worker.
Okay.
In Johannesburg, after they lost their land, so they became migrant workers.
Yes.
What happened is, it was Frelimo, which opened our eyes.
Okay.
When the coup took place in Portugal,
Yeah.
and a Marxist took over the government of Portugal,
Yeah.
and decided that Frelimo, you remember Portugal was colonizing Mozambique,
Yes.
Angola, Cape Verde, and others.
Yes.
He decided that Frelimo must take over Mozambique.
Okay.
Portugal is leaving Mozambique now.
Yeah.
It was in 1974 when it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. And indeed, Frelimo, at that stage, Samora Machel was leading Frelimo because Dr. Eduardo Montana was killed by a bomb earlier.
Yeah.
And then, now, the euphoria started with us. And how old was I? In 1974, I was 14, 15 years.
14, 15.
Yeah, 14, 15 years, 16.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I'm thinking about how old I was at that stage for the first time. Now, the euphoria started now, Caesar.
I think you were 15 in 1977.
In 1977.
Yeah.
In 1987. I turned 20 in 1979.
No, I was born in 1977. You
Yes.
said to me we are 65 years today.
Yes.
I am 47.
Yes. So I was
So I think you were probably
16.
15.
15.
15.
Yeah, I was 15. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then people started talking. Frelimo, and so on. Then the celebrations about Frelimo and everything.
So
the great
wave,
North University.
the wave of freedom.
Yes, it's starting now.
Yeah.
We're a younger generation. But from 1960-something, 1968, 60-something, you remember the Black Consciousness Movement,
Yes, yes.
the students,
Yeah.
when Black students separated from NUSAS.
Yeah.
Because of the fight to say that why don't we get accommodated in one place? White people refused to sleep in the township, and they said no. Then let's form our own. So SASO was born. So Black consciousness and the Frelimo celebrations started moving inside. Now, sometimes I laugh. I hear people who are younger than me telling the younger generation lies that they fought in 1976.
That has always surprised me. There are people my age who are claiming they are military, they are MK veterans.
Military veterans.
I mean, really.
Honestly, one day we'll cover what happened. In 1990, the ANC started recruiting younger people to say, let's prepare for a formal army. A regular army, so that when the time to come to match the South African army, we've got black young people who are trained as soldiers. Some of them left the country in 1990. Today they call themselves veterans. Right? But here is the first lie. The first lie is people who's younger than me, who's telling people that he fought in June 1976. June 1976, were you in Soweto? No, I was not in Soweto. Where did you fight? Because there was no fighting of anybody except in Soweto.
Exactly.
And Bolanga. Bolanga, maybe Abu Subuke and others. But the real thing in 1976 started in Soweto. I was not part of 1976 in Soweto. I did not even know what Soweto was.
Exactly.
But there are people who are younger than me who are telling people that they fought in 1976.
Well, it's about the political CV,
Which is wrong.
We have to make it look good.
Which is wrong. Which is wrong. You understand? We joined an established revolution in South Africa, which started it started in 1912 when the ANC was formed, the PAC split up and all those other things. So why do you want to tell people that we are the originals? We are not originals.
Yeah.
No, we are the children of the revolution.
Yeah.
Don't lie to our younger people, because many people are lying. They just lie. It's like when they lie about the National Democratic Revolution. It's not the property of any political party, NDR, National Democratic Revolution. It's the property of the struggle of the people of South Africa. When you talk about the National Democratic Revolution, you must talk about all the liberation movement, PAC, ANC, AZAPO, Black consciousness, everybody, the farmers, the teachers, the doctors, the nurses, everybody. Show me any teacher who was not part of a revolution. I was educated by the teachers.
No, they were very important
right?
in instilling.
And that's why I could read English, I could read books, because I was educated. They were part of the revolution.
Yeah.
When I was shot several times, I had 4 assassination attempts in my life. I was rescued by doctors secretly in their houses. Those doctors were part of the revolution. Those teachers were part of those nurses were part of the revolution. But now you guys, you are celebrating us who were in the forefront as veterans. No, South Africans are veterans, all of them.
I mean, at that time, everybody took part in the liberation of the country.
Everybody took part. The chiefs, the church people, the students, the youth, the women of our land. You remember when you read about the struggle in Bethel, potatoes, how people were massacred there. Solemn Keys and Driefontein. The young people in Witbank who ended up in Robben Island, the young people, Lasichuai. He went to Robben Island, he was a teenager. And there are people who call themselves veterans today. And we want to ask, where does it come from?
They sprang up in 1991, like suddenly they were there.
In my understanding, all the people who taught me, they are veterans. They fought in the struggle.
For sure.
Because they were my teachers.
For sure.
So that's how things went. So we must not lie. We must tell the truth to say the National Democratic Revolution is the struggle of South Africa by the South Africans. Yes, there are those who are in the forefront of the struggle. The vanguard.
I mean, at any given
Nelson
point.
Mandela, Chris Hannis, Thabo Mbekis of the world, and so on. Right? Yes, you should celebrate them. So we raise their names, we celebrate them on behalf of everybody who fought. But who are heroes? The people of South Africa are heroes. Right.
No, I get your
point. Then from there, after completing matric, I went to Fort Hare. I wanted to study law.
Okay.
The company of my dad promised to pay for me.
Yeah.
You know, they gave me a letter when I went to Fort Hare University.
Yeah.
You know what was contained in that letter?
Yeah.
Sealed. No, we are sorry, we can't fund this young man. They don't tell my father that we can't fund your son.
Oh, so your father gave
my
you
father
a letter,
gave me the
he has
letter,
not read.
bought me a ticket to go to Alice to Fort Hare University, hoping that the letter is saying we'll pay for him. I arrived there, they opened the letter, they said, what do you want here? I look at them, they said, but the company says they're not going to fund you.
Hey.
Then I came back.
So which company was your father working for?
They used to call the South African Glazer in Boksburg.
Okay.
I mean that pain.
Yeah.
And I came back, I said to my father, Dad, here is the letter. They gave me the letter back. Here's the letter. Your company says they are not going to pay for my school fees.
Which year were you supposed to be?
1981.
1981.
Yeah, 1981.
Yeah.
Right? That's how my dreams to study at the university at that time came to naught. And I was bitter. Yeah. I said, well, you see now I'm going to go underground and fight this government. I took that decision. I said, now I was part and parcel of movements. Now I'm going to go underground and fight. The revolutionary was born. I should have left the country in 1983 with some of the people who, my generation who left to go to exile in 1983. Okay. But one comrade leader called Mjali, who I met him three times, who took me to the first underground meeting in Bethel. Yes. I never met him after he deposited me in that meeting.
Oh.
Yeah, he drove me in there. I remember he was driving an old Peugeot.
Yeah.
He picked me up from the debating. We were debating in the school.
Yeah.
So he took me to that meeting. That's where I met people like Patrick Sibande.
Okay.
Patrick Sibande and others, Nacy and all those other things. So that's how I decided to say, I'm going to fight. I wanted to go to exile, but leadership said, no.
Yeah.
You guys must remain. Work first. When you are exposed, then you can go to exile.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
You have got people who saw a police van pass next to their house and they go to exile. They say, the police I ran away from the police. They wanted to arrest me. It's a lie. The police of the ANC was to say, first fight.
Oh, so you had to gain some
if you are exposed, if you are work for the people.
Yeah, yeah.
Fight the struggle inside as a student.
Yeah.
As a worker.
Yes.
As a village person, fight.
Yeah, because it was important that the war was still waged inside the country.
Yeah. You will not just wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to exile. No. You are being identified by those underground units to say, this boy now is exposed. He must leave the country and go out. Right? So they kept on saying, no, but you guys, you can still work.
But exposure meaning that the establishment was aware that you were an activist.
Yes.
Your life was in danger then.
Remember, members, the real members of the ANC, it's not the ones who went and joined the ANC in 1990. These were the community activists who were fighting battles of the community. Lack of water, evictions, against tribalism and everything. ANC identified us from that. And then they said, we must get those young people and bring them in the ANC's fold because they are doing a good job.
Okay, yeah.
Right? They are doing a good job. So,
in essence, you had to be involved in some program to transform
of the community.
In
some program of the society.
Yeah.
You know, one thing which really made me prominent, and this many people don't know.
Yeah.
We were in the underground working with MK soldiers who were coming in and outside. Okay. Logistics, information, intelligence, and everything. Yeah. Silently from high school and all those other things. Yeah. Then something very bad happened. Something very, very bad happened. In 1985, they started what you call a tribal fighting between Gazankulu and Lebowa Bantustan. Okay. Right? They started fighting. They started saying that, you see the R40?
Yes.
R40 road from Babaton.
Yes.
They started saying that the Shangani people, the Shangani homeland must be on when you go to the north. Yeah. On the right-hand side of the N4 road, it must become Gazankulu. On the left-hand side, when you go to the north, it must become Basotho or Lebowa. Right? Fictitious, something fictitious, what do you call virtual boundary of some kind. And then they started moving along those lines, just not well established. Then they started a war to say, we're going to school, all of us. Both Shangan children and Pedi children were attending the same school. Then we'll split when they're going to study Tsonga language, because there's no language called Shangan. They study Tsonga language. Then we will split. They go to a Tsonga class, we go to a Sepedi class. But we were all in the same schools. 1970 something. They started splitting us. And then now, they started saying, the so-called Tsonga Shangani must go that side. The Pedi people must go that side. Then the schools were built along that framework. The next thing, there was a war. There was not a war, the infighting. They provoked the fighting.
Yeah.
Which forced people who were Shangans or Tsonga speaking people to migrate and go to the east of Bushbuckridge.
Okay.
And then the so-called Bapedi people to remain in the west of Bushbuckridge. And then there were skirmishes, people were fighting. Right? Then the leadership came in. Leadership of MK was in the forefront to stop that thing in the underground.
Yes.
Right? We became their foot soldiers.
Okay.
To fight there, to say, no, we must not accept this thing. We are all Africans. These people found us living together. And I'm intermarrying. In Bushbuckridge, ask anybody. You'll find that Bapedi children, their mothers are Shangans, are Tsongas.
Yeah.
The Tsonga, Mashangan people, their mothers are Pedis, are Sutus. But the white man comes in and says, you are different, you are not the same people.
Yeah. Hey.
Those are the struggles that we fought, right? That was the first thing which made us prominent. When we said, no, we're not going to accept this. Yeah. When they started the bantustan, the so-called bantustans, we were in the forefront of refusing, and we were young. Refusing. I remember when they established this thing, I was still in primary school. Yeah. Then they got some students who were coming from Bushbuckridge who were studying in Teflop, bribed them with money to promote Leboa Bantustan. Hey. Those who were coming from the Shanze, bribed with money to promote Shimoko Sharashaka, Gazangulu. Yeah. I mean, humiliating those students. They were at the university. I don't understand how a university student by that time, during the Black Consciousness movement, would go and promote elections of the Bantustan. And I know them by name, some of those students, because I wrote them down to say, this person is a student at a Teflop University or University of the North. Yeah. Today it's called Limpopo. But here is campaigning for a Bantustan elections. Right? So, underground, they said, fight that thing. Don't allow it to happen. It must not happen. So the second thing which put us, which exposed me now from the underground, because we're underground. Yeah. It was when a most terrible thing happened in Shatale. Yeah. In Shatale, they had a problem which they called ritual murders. Okay. You know ritual murders?
Yes, I know. Yeah.
So it was a bad thing.
Yeah.
Now, the people of Shatale was established as a peri-urban in Bushbuckridge, as a township. Yes. You've got Shatale, you've got Dwarsloop, you've got Tulamahanshi. Later, you have got what you call the one in...
you mentioned Dwarsloop.
From Hazelview, go down to Hazelview, there's the place called in the township.
Nkosho, yeah.
Yes. They were supposed to be urbanized. Yeah. And they were really urbanized. Yeah. So you need to, they became formalized townships. Yeah. Right? And then in Shatale, they had this problem of ritual murders. Then there was an explosion. Because they said that they found people who were victims the parts were removed. And then it started, and then the community fought for business people. In the process,
that problem started a long time. It was even recently. The ritual murders.
Yeah, not ritual murders is as old as the Bible. Yeah. You read about Shakespeare's books. You're reading about witchcraft and all this. It's an old thing. Yeah. But unfortunately, it's refusing to die, because sometimes there is confusion about the way custom, tradition, and what do you call it? Some people culture. Culture is even evasive, because culture evolves.
It evolves. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe custom does not evolve. Yeah. Tradition does, but and then people, we are stuck with doomed primitive belief systems. Even if people go to school, they still believe that there are witches who are bewitching them. And this person is very educated. And he was taught about scientific analysis. But he still believes that, no, And then when that explosion started, I was called by MK soldiers. And we met in Swaziland. They said, listen, what is happening in Bushbuckridge?
Yeah.
I said, this is what happened. But lucky enough, I was given that report. Lucky enough, young people with the guidance of others, there were two powerful men in Bushbuckridge who were deported, the Mashile brothers, who were deported. One was deported, was sent to Ciskei for 18 years, another one for 15 years.
Okay.
They defied, they came back, and then they were advised to go and join the Bantustan. When the ANC started adopting, about forcing people to use the Bantustans.
Yeah.
And people, I don't know whether the younger generation know that the ANC system said hijacked the Bantustans.
Is it?
Yeah. The ANC hijacked it to say, look, this thing is a reality in South Africa.
Yeah.
Let's make it a point that people who go into these Bantustans are people who are political conscious. Okay. That's why we have Enos Mabuza.
Oh, so the leadership.
Yes, Enos Mabuza was sent in
there,
to infiltrate the Kangwan, right? People like Bo Patudi. I'm not very sure whether Patudi was a member of the ANC Youth League, for your information.
Yeah.
Yeah, Patudi was. Yeah. I don't know whether it was formal like Enos Mabuza. I don't know.
Yeah.
Now, Kwandebele, you see Kwandebele?
Yes.
Kim Maboko.
Yeah.
Kim Maboko was in the forefront of ensuring that Bantustan does not get independence, the Ndebele people. They wanted him to take, they wanted Kwandebele to take independence. Kim Maboko of the Mahlangu royal family fought that.
Okay. Well, why were they objecting to independence?
Yeah.
Was it a matter of
balkanizing South Africa into tribalism.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's why we didn't accept Bantustans.
Oh, yeah.
This is no. You can't take, the ANC said, look, let's infiltrate these Bantustans.
Okay.
Right? You know, Caesar, people don't know how much pain Kangwani took because of that. All of us, when they started killing us in Leboa, in Gazankulu, we ran to Kangwan.
Yeah.
When the second assassination attempt where the apartheid-sponsored Vigilante was sent to come and kill me and burn my house, I ran to Kangwan. 1989.
It was safer for you guys.
Yeah, you could operate here. Yeah, we could operate. We were welcomed in Kanyamazan. Kanyamazan actually is the capital of the revolution of the 1980s in the Lowveld.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were treated like heroes.
Yeah.
During the apartheid era, the consciousness in Kanyamazan, in Kangwan was very high. Unlike Bushbuckridge, unlike other areas where people still believed in Bantustans.
Yeah.
But Kangwan was different. It was very, very different.
And I remember the apartheid government also had a deal with this King Sopoza.
What they wanted to do,
demarcate again this era into Swaziland.
What they wanted to do, they wanted to take away the citizen of the Swazis in Mpumalanga.
Yes.
And incorporate them into Swaziland.
Yeah.
This is where the law firm called Phosa Mjapilu Makgoba became very popular. Because it was the first black law firm here in Nelspruit.
Yeah.
Then the ANC said, no, people of Kangwan. Because they disestablished Kangwan government. When they took that decision, they disestablished that government.
Because of its defiance to...
Yeah, no, because some chiefs wanted to go back to Swaziland. And the people of the Swazis in Mpumalanga says, no, we're not going in there. We're South Africans. Because why you have divided Swaziland? This is Swaziland. We're in Swaziland.
Yeah.
So now, no, we're not going to go in there. The best thing you can do, bring back Swaziland in the whole of Mpumalanga. It was resisted, right? And then when they established it, the leadership of Kangwane government, which was disestablished, led by Enos Mabuza, went and met the ANC. And the ANC said, appoint a black law firm, bring them here, let's brief them on how to fight this thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
At that stage, you remember KwaNdebele,
Yes.
they wanted to impose freedom through
Yes.
one chief minister who was part of the apartheid regime.
Yeah.
The people of KwaNdebele, they fought.
Yeah.
They banned businesses, people died and everything, refusing to be declared independence under the leadership of Maboko of the Mahlangu Royal House.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So I'm trying to say to you that during that time, those difficulties in the 80s, the ANC decided that let's hijack these bantustans. Let's control them. That's why you've got people like Holomisa.
Yeah.
Who made it possible for ANC to operate in Ciskei, Transkei.
Yeah.
That's why you've got people like Pinus Mabuza. That's why you have people like Kim Maboko in KwaNdebele. But some areas they could not make a breakthrough. Like in Gazankulu, the ANC could not make a breakthrough.
Yeah, in Gazankulu.
Yeah, they couldn't.
The former Federal areas.
Yeah, they couldn't make a breakthrough.
Botswana.
Yeah, they couldn't.
Yeah.
But lucky enough, with the Great North, what you call Limpopo today, boy, you had intellectuals. Limpopo had intellectuals. The capital city of black consciousness in the Transvaal was the North. Black consciousness was the North.
Why?
Because your activists who established, do you know that the SARS was established at Teflu?
Okay.
Yeah, it was inaugurated at Teflu.
Okay.
Yeah, by that time you had great intellectuals in the North, in Limpopo. Very, very highly educated people. Not only people who were educated when the University College of the North was established. I think it was established in 19 what?
They were celebrating 65 years this
1960
year.
Some. Yeah,
1960. 65 years ago from today.
Yes.
Yeah.
59. It was established in 1959, if I'm not wrong.
It's your age.
Yeah.
It's your age.
Yeah. That's why I always tell people that I'm always lucky. The PAC was formed in 1959. And so on. So what happened there is that when the people of Shatale revolted against ritual murders, it went mad. Then people started saying, not only ritual murderers, we also have witches who are bewitching us. Let's kill them. Caesar, we buried people. When we were called in Swaziland, it says, guys, get alive. Go and stop that madness. I was not the founding member of Mapulane Crisis Committee. People of Shatale, they came up with Mapulane Crisis Committee to stop that madness.
Yeah.
And one young man called Lawrence Bomragane became the president of Mapulane Crisis Committee.
Yeah.
Right. I joined it. They incorporated me later after that instruction to say, hey, get out of the underground. Go and stop that nonsense in there. I remember this MK soldier said to me, we have decided to sacrifice you. You must go and work with that crisis committee to stop that nonsense. And then I was incorporated into Mapulane Crisis Committee, right? And then we started a campaign to stop the killings of the so-called witches.
Yeah.
And we did a good job. But the apartheid regime got very angry with us. Because we started uniting people to say, no, stop this tribalism. There's nothing like tribalism. There's nothing like witchcraft. We're being divided here. Let's come together. Now, the problem which was there, it was the youth power. Misguided young people.
Okay.
Yeah. Then the apartheid regime says, no, to stop this crisis committee to conscientize people politically, let's blame them for all the people who were killed because they are witches.
Yeah.
Then they arrested us.
Oh, okay. So now on murder charges?
No. It's still early.
Okay.
It's still early. So then there was a state of emergency in 1986. I don't know how old you were in 1986.
1986, I was...
Yeah. You were
9 years?
You were 9, yeah.
84, I was 7.
Yeah.
So 10 years.
Yeah.
10 years, yeah.
In fact, in 1985, we were arrested and tortured when the MK soldiers, Frank Tabane, Michael Malope, Mukwena, were surrounded and killed, because I was part of that. I became part of the internal foot soldier to supply those comrades with information.
Because before you move forward about the issue of witches, it's funny how these matters rise again from time to time. It was in your time, but I think around 2013, 2012, again, there was this issue.
It's refusing to die because we are refusing to evolve. You know, one day I had a discussion with Judge Modipane, Phineas Modipane, who was my lawyer during the apartheid era. He always said that you gave me a hard time. You know, Cyril, let me tell you something. The biggest tragedy of Africa, the biggest tragedy is what you call an African scholar. The African scholar, somehow we must look the African scholar in the eye and say, but don't you think you have contributed in this? Right? Why did we refuse? Why did we refuse ordinary people to confuse custom, tradition with culture? Because they're not the same. Culture is something different.
It's something different,
Culture evolves.
Yeah, of course.
But then you take doomed primitive ideas, you allocate them to say it is our culture. Beliefs also you confuse it with ancestral worship. I have ancestors who I must continue worshipping, I must continue respecting. And those ancestors of mine are not demons.
No.
They are my ancestors. But you confuse them with demons. If you read your own Bible, the Bible talks about the demons. But you allow ordinary people to confuse demons with African ancestors. You call them demons. Some churches actually continuing to preaching the thing of saying that you are worshipping demons. Well, how can madlozi have demons? Now, inyanga, there are two ways of inyanga. Inyanga, that word is confused. Because there's a difference between takat and inyanga. That's why in Zulu, inyanga mtakati. Right? Inyanga mtakati is the man who abuses natural herbs, natural gift into causing calamity. They operate spiritually, but for wrong reasons.
For wrong reasons,
yes.
Of course.
But don't confuse that with our ancestors. Right? And I'm saying the African scholar needs to work very hard. We need a program in the African community to separate inyanga yokulapha abantu ne inyanga mthakathi. Separate doomed primitive belief systems from tradition and customs. Right? To the extent that the white man even tried to say, if you go to the circumcision school, you are worshipping demons. Today, they know all people must go for circumcision. That's why we circumcised. Because the African scholar allowed this thing to take root. And I'm saying African scholar because now I'm part of that. I'm part of the African scholar. We're not doing enough to liberate our own people from doomed primitive belief systems. We're not. Today, they're even selling us compromised, distorted Christianity. Very, very distorted Christianity.
That's sad.
And Christianity was established by African people. The so-called Gentiles got to know about Christianity, but we've allowed them to distort it. Today, Christianity is not evolution. Christianity was a branch of Judaism, which was established for the descendants of Judah. You are an Israeli yourself. You are a Jew yourself. But today we think Jews are white people. Jews and Israelis are African people. They stole that identity. That they stole that identity that they're Afrikaners.
Yeah, there's still
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but what are we doing about it? We need a simple campaign to educate our children that you are the Israelites. Treason was born on the Nile River. On Atlantis, when Atlantis became dry, African people moved to the Nile River. But they want to tell you that they want to kill Atlantis.
Yeah.
Because Atlantis became dry, it became Sahara Desert. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
We civilized all these so-called Mediterranean people. They came to Egypt. We civilized, after the drought, pushed us to the Nile River. After the drought, pushed us from southern Africa and went to the Nile River because everything was dry. You see, the rivers we are reading about in the Bible are no longer there because of that drought. But the river which remained standing was Egypt. Was Nile River.
Nile River.
Yeah, Nile River. That's why we all migrated to Nile River. When we came back later, they returned as the Nguni tribe. Yeah. The white man says, no, but you people don't come here. You come up there in Africa. We were here. We left because there was a drought and we went up to the Nile River. And that's why on the Nile River, because of what you call the Nile secret, there was a secret society which established a soft Christianity called exoteric Christianity. Okay. Because there's esoteric Christianity, the original. Yeah. It is the first program that they teach you when you are a child. Yeah. You are a Jewish child. Okay. So the class was called its own name. I don't know whether you know the meaning of the word Christianity. Christianity means the stupid ones. Christian, go and check the name Christianity. It means the stupid ones. No, the Gentiles, when they met the Jews worshipping in their synagogues, they were worshipping idols, isn't it? Carved with the wood and everything. Yes. Then they go in, when they are attacked, they found out, but these people, they say they're worshipping God. Where is their God? Because we were not worshipping idols. We were worshipping the God of the sun.
They wanted to see if the physical...
These people are mad. They come in here, they say they're worshipping. Where is their God? Because there were no idols. Yeah, the Jews
wanted a physical God.
The Jews who didn't worship idols. Yeah. They said, these people are stupid, man. Okay. Now, here is a young man with other people who started saying, and he was a Jew. Jesus Christ was a Jew. He says, no, man, look, man, you old Jewish people, why don't we accept these Gentiles, these white people to come inside? He says, no, you can't become a Jew unless you are a Jew, an African. And you can only become a Jew if your mother is an Israeli. You are first an Israeli. Then number two, then you become a Jew. Not all Israelis are Jews, but all Jews are Israelis. I don't know whether I'm making sense.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. You do.
Not all Israelis are Jews. Not all African people are Jews. Yeah. But all Jews are Israelites. Yeah. Right? Because the Jews are the 12 sons of Israel, Jacob who became Israel. Yeah. One of the sons was called Judah. So the Jews are the descendants of Judah. Right? And hence Judaism as a religion. Okay. Right? Okay. Christianity was an introduction of the children into Judaism. Oh. It was not called Christianity. It was a program. They had its own name. Yeah. I'm researching. I want to find out what did they called it. But they say, no. It was a program to introduce young people. Okay. Right? It was soft. Then later, when Jesus Christ started saying, no, let's accept white people to come inside, they says, no, you are nuts. You are mad. That's why they crucified him. They said, you are selling out. You are a Jew and now you want to take the foreigners to come and become Jews. Don't you know that you're going to become a Jew if you are a chosen person? Yeah. Right? Yeah. That is how Jesus Christ was crucified. Because he betrayed the Jews. And according to the Jewish law, if you betray them, they crucify you. They could not have crucified him if he was not a Jew. So Jesus Christ was not a Christian. No. 300 years after the death of Jesus Christ. Yeah. The Roman Catholic Church with Emperor Constantinople started formalizing that Christianity, distorted Christianity. They took the writings of our ancestors and they tamper with them to suit their own agenda.
Yeah.
And they canonize those writings. They call them the Bible. But the books, they were not included. The book of Enoch was not included.
Yeah, some were left out.
Yeah, they were not followed. The book of Jubilee, they were not included because they were telling the truth about what happened.
Yeah.
Right?
And over the years, the Bible has been
So I'm trying to
edited.
say, why I'm trying to say that is because we're making a terrible mistake about letting something which we know is wrong and we can change it when we come with a program. You know, black consciousness really tried to fix a lot of things. Really tried to fix a lot of things.
Yeah.
You know, people like Steve Biko need to be celebrated. That first generation of Prislika, Isaka, Sam, and all those generation, they worked very hard with a black consciousness.
Yeah.
But then, I'm sorry to tell you that we in the ANC, some of us are guilty for suppressing black consciousness. And I don't know why we're doing that. We must not suppress black consciousness. We must allow black consciousness to come back and lead the process of going forward. And then we'll appreciate even white people who come from somewhere that they belong to us. But history must be protected. We must not allow white people to lie to the extent that today you call them Afrikaners. Why do you call Europeans Afrikaners? Why? The government of the ANC today is calling these people, is allowing, well, we refuse to call them Afrikaners in the constitution. But when we talk, Afrikaners. The Europeans can't be Afrikaners. I'm the Afrikaner, me, you, but not them. These are the descendants of the settlers.
But
we've accepted them now.
Yeah.
But the history must be told that, yes, we've accepted you. You are of European stock. You come from Europe. You are now a South African citizen, yes, but you are not an Afrikaner. You're not. I am the Afrikaner.
Yeah. But is that not the effect of the non-racialism policy?
No. You see, that's where some leaders are making a mistake.
Yeah.
In the name of non-racialism, don't distort our history. Don't distort our origin. We're not going to chase white people into the sea. They are our people. Africans will welcome everybody. But don't come here and social engineer things in the wrong way. Start teaching our children nonsense that you are calling yourself African, and we look at you, we see a pale human being. An African is black, is dark. And now today, if you open the South African radio station, you hear some of the people they call us black Africans. See, what is a black African? What is a black African? There's nothing called a black African. That is what the citation, according to our forefathers, it says, the ANC was established to liberate black people, especially the African people. An Indian person is a black person. A Chinese is a black person. An Arab is a black person. Right? But me, you can't call me a black person. I'm an African. Maybe if you don't see me when I talk on the radio, you can say, he sounds like he's black. Right? But when you see me, you can't call me, I'm black. I'm an African. More so because even our continent was never called African. They changed it. This the so-called the Mediterranean. They changed and they call our continent African. You know the name of our continent before the white man came in. It was not an African. So I'm trying to say to you, these struggles, the African scholar need to fix them. Need to fix them. But the problem is, in 1952, when they introduced Bantu education, you know the definition of Bantu education, people don't know. The definition of Bantu education is, don't give them education, give them skills. Many people will say they are educated today. They're not educated, they're skilled.
Yeah.
Bantu education wanted to teach us to teach us minimal skills, to read and write, to understand mathematics, to understand so that we can become accountants a little bit and so on, and to work for them. That's why when Bantu education was going to teach you a little bit of skills so that they can exploit, you can work for them.
You can be useful.
That is why today I always tell my children, you must never call me educated, because I don't want to be called educated. Because I am skilled. I went to school to learn how to read and to write. Even if I have a degree, I'm not educated. Those universities, they were called Bush universities. The intention was to skill black people so that they can serve the white man. Education is something else. Education comes from your history, your culture, your tradition, and everything.
But now, how do we resolve the problem caused by the African scholar we're talking about? Should we
need to come up. We need to bring back the black consciousness. It is there at the tertiary level. Ordinary people can't reach that education. Do you understand? You know, the most important thing in the process of educating is what you call research. Scientific research. If you have not reached academic level where you are expected to produce a mini dissertation to start with, a dissertation, don't call yourself educated. If you have got junior degree, you're not educated. You are skilled. You're not educated. You can start saying, at least I'm getting educated by the time you start a program we call research. Because research forces you to open up, to connect all the dots which are there. Right? But then, unfortunately, it is at the highest level. Ordinary people don't get it. So we need to come up with black consciousness. And the most important thing that black consciousness must do now is must re-educate our people. Even those who call themselves that they are educated, they need to be re-educated. See, there is a program now, it's called the renewal of the ANC. You know, I'm sorry to tell you that I come from the ANC. I'm very critical about the manner this thing is being done. Now, if you go and want to see, but what is this renewal? They're trying to educate me about the history of the ANC. Does it mean if you completed your degree in 1960, you must go back to the university to be re-educated because 1960 is a long time ago? Because renewal of the organization, it must say, ANC has been hijacked by people who are not ANC. Who wear the colors of the ANC. Who were spies. Who came to the ANC, they wanted to access government so that they can steal through corruption in the ANC. How do we rectify that? And then you go back, you say, look, let us go back to our archives, our records as the ANC. Who are the people who were in the forefront of the struggle, who are still alive today? And bring those people back. Those who are not tainted. And it's very easy to find out whether a person was tainted. If I went into government, all of a sudden I'm driving a Porsche. I'm driving a Cadillac. I'm driving something, Wagon. I never had a business. Where did I get the money? I live in Santen. Where did I get the money? Where? I'm called a millionaire. I think the people who should be called millionaires are people like Maponya, because we know how they started. They started selling vegetables, eggs, doing what, going up and up and up.
But after the democracy, immediately after democracy, then big companies, big banks were dishing out shares to you. I don't know why were you left out?
No. They were You know, this system is very bad. They infiltrated the ANC. Even during our struggle in South Africa, those who were genuine in South Africa, who never went to exile, you had to escape being assassinated.
Wow.
You must have gone to jail.
Yeah.
You must have escaped being assassinated.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we must put a question mark on you.
Yeah.
Why? If you fought in the 70s, in the 60s, in the 80s,
true,
and you were never arrested.
Yeah.
There was no assassination attempt on you.
Yeah.
And you say you were in the forefront of the struggle. How did you make it when the system was so hostile? It was killing. I mean, the best amongst us, CISO, they were killed. You know that. You come from Dahakra. You know. You know what happened in that part of the world where you were born.
Yeah.
That's where the struggle was. That's where Pixley Kaisara was trying to help the people there to buy that land where you were born in Dahakra. You know what happened in Driefontein. Saul Kize was killed.
Yeah.
You know what happened to our comrade. Now, here is somebody who wants to tell us that he fought the struggle, but I can't find him in the annals of history during the struggle. I never met you in prison. I never met you under the state of emergency. I never met you in trial. Huh?
It means you must...
Where do you come from? How did you escape?
It's somebody who had a very special skill
How
to
did you
evade
escape?
the apartheid.
You know, there is one thing which people don't know. You know, the high felt.
Yeah.
The high felt is different from the low felt.
Yeah.
The high felt, because of industrialization, it attracted people coming from all over South Africa.
Yeah.
The Xhosas, the Zulus, the Pegis, the vendors and everything.
Yeah.
They went to Witbank, Middleburg, Secunda, everything. So that's why the way it is multiracial, the high felt.
Yes.
You'll never hear about tribalism in Witbank, in Middleburg, in Secunda. You'll never hear about it because of industrialization. Because of industrialization. You know, the battles was fought by those people in those towns. To the extent that the younger generation, Lasi Chuayo, Sylvester Swaza, others, they were sent to Robben Island as teenagers in those places.
Yeah, you are mentioning a point. But looking at people in leadership today, can you say that there are former spies in the center of the ANC today?
We must be careful
even in government.
we must be careful not to divide our people.
Okay.
First, be careful not to confuse people. You know, Nelson Mandela was telling the story about something where, no, not Nelson Mandela, Oliver Tambo, where they went to Oliver Tambo to say, Oliver Tambo, some of these people are spies. He says, do you know that if we start an exercise to see who was a spy, who was not a spy, I'll remain alone here. Because the ANC, the PAC, AZAPO became the fishing point for apartheid intelligence. To recruit people to destroy our national democratic revolution. And some people were recruited while they were high-profile leaders in all these organizations. And some of them, we know them. Some of them ascended the ladder. And they occupy the most strategic places in our government. And we're not going to tell you young people who those people were, because we'll confuse the nation. We will go to our graves with the names of the people who we know that they were apartheid spies. Because when finally we said we want to reconcile, we said let's forgive everybody and come back. That's why in 1994, Mandela appointed General George Marion to be head of the South African Army. The man was killing us. My assassination, the final assassination attempt which I survived, it was led by a general who was in Amsterdam.
Okay.
Right? Somebody just wrote a book now. He's saying in the book that that general who masterminded the assassination of me was one of the people who made him to succeed.
Hey, who's that general?
He's dead now. General Otto.
General Otto.
Yeah.
Okay.
General Otto was head of the Amsterdam military base. It was him who masterminded, put up the team to come and assassinate me in 1991 when we were negotiating.
So after 1990, 1991, 1992,
they were still killing us.
Your lives were still in.
They were still killing us. They said when negotiating the ANC, listen to what they say. You must read the book. The book written by, it's written by. It tells a story about Neil. He was head of NEA.
Yeah.
They say, yes, we're negotiating with the ANC is unbanned, but the war against the ANC is continuing. Mm-hmm. While we were negotiating, some of us were targeted to be killed. Mm-hmm. And some of the people who were calling themselves ANC were part and parcel of that plot to kill me. Lucky enough, the mastermind was also arrested and exposed.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, sis, we must not tell young people that, you see that man there who you call so-and-so, the leader of the ANC, was an apartheid spy. You'll confuse our people.
Yeah, they will be confused.
We say Africans, we as Africans, don't tell in spederere, o se kwa bolela dilo tšere jela go ka mohla wa tlala. Ungakhulumi lokho sakudla lesikhathi silambile because masilambile siyadlana. So ungabotsi phela wena mosubodla abantu isikhathi silambile wena. So we are not going to tell the younger people who is who in the government.
Yeah.
Because people will be you will understand for the first time why people who are senior leaders in government are mentioned in Zondo Commission as people who contributed towards corruption. Check the names of those people, check their history. You'll understand why.
Yeah, because I was about to ask.
You'll understand why.
I was about to ask that since those who were spies were left alone.
Yes.
But now how have they how have they impacted on the current situation now?
They impacted later by hijacking the ANC. Getting into government, starting to steal.
Yeah, make money.
Ask yourself this question, why was Thabo Mbeki removed? No one can tell you why was Thabo Mbeki removed. And who removed Thabo Mbeki? The ANC leadership.
The ANC.
And why did the ANC leadership remove? For your information, since Thabo Mbeki left, our revolution, let me not say our revolution, our government is in bad shape.
Many people have been saying, many top leaders of the ANC has been saying the ANC died in Polokwane in that conference.
Yes. The ANC died in Polokwane. The ANC died in Polokwane. That was the final nail when the ANC died. When Polokwane, when they removed Thabo Mbeki, and Thabo Mbeki was removed by the ANC leadership.
Legitimate.
In fact, the combined tripartite and everything, they removed him. Right?
Yeah.
And later they realized that no, we must also remove him from government. He was removed later from government. And the pain of South African government, the pain of the taxpayer in South Africa, became worse. I'm not carrying a brief for Thabo Mbeki.
Yeah.
Yes, he's a human being, he's got his own faults.
Yeah.
But Caesar, I want to tell you something. He's one of the finest revolutionaries our country has ever produced.
Okay.
He's a human being. Sometimes he's intolerant. But who's perfect?
Yeah.
But the man, I served in government when Thabo Mbeki was Mandela and Mbeki were presidents.
Yeah.
I was removed from government. In fact, I resigned from government in 2002. That's when I left active politics.
Yeah.
When they ganged against me and started stories about me.
Yeah. By the way, because the conversation we jumped
there and there.
Now that we are on that one, that we are on that point of being in government.
Yeah.
You were one of the first MECs.
I was one of the first MECs.
In the ANC, what were you after unbanning?
No, after unbanning, when the ANC was unbanned, I left in 1989 when apartheid sponsored vigilantes in those villages of where I come from.
Yeah.
They formed a vigilante group called Sofasonke.
Yeah.
And the Sofasonke, the reason why it was established, the government by that time, it was joint operation between Leboa government, the special branch of South Africa, and the military.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They said I was a troublemaker.
Okay.
You know why I became a troublemaker? After our longest terrorism trial, because we were arrested in 1986 under the state of emergency, 1986, as a Mpumalanga Crisis Committee, the one which stopped the witchcraft.
Yeah.
When we came back, we then had a discussion with MK operatives underground to say, listen, this youth power need to be changed to fight apartheid.
Okay.
Right? That I made it my life.
Okay.
I started getting all those young people and started working very hard to change their outlook, to start fighting against apartheid.
So after you came back
from prison. Remember when the state of emergency came to an end in 1987? Those who detained under state of emergency, as they were released, as they said, no, we're not going to release you because we must charge you with terrorism. In fact, they charged us with treason. Because you, as the Mapulana Crisis Committee, you were in the forefront of killing witches. Now, the object for which we were created to stop, now are being blamed for having orchestrated it. So it was a campaign of the apartheid regime to paint us bad, right? Then they charge us with treason. Then later, just before, I think they were advised that if you are not going to be able to prove treason against these people. Remember, even Mandela and them, they were safe because they told them, you are not going to prove treason. You better charge them with sabotage. Even as they said, no, if you charge them with treason, they're going to go scot-free. Charge Mapulana Crisis Committee with terrorism. Then you can send some of them to prison. So they changed just 2 weeks before we start trial. They changed our indictment. They said they are now charging us with terrorism. So we went in court under terrorism. Lucky enough, we got a very good senior counsel, Judge Antihalter. Jack Antihalter. Not judge. He was never a judge. He was a senior counsel. Jack Antihalter. He represented us. And we got free. We were discharged. Then when we got discharged, then I started implementing the program of changing the outlook of young people into fighting apartheid. And killing this thing of witchcraft, killing this thing of tribalism and everything. I became the enemy number one to the apartheid regime. They started the campaign to try and kill me. The first assassination attempt was staged by Mankweng riot squad of Leboa government. They bombed the house and they shot there. Lucky enough, I was not in the house. They nearly killed the 3 occupants of the house. Right? The second assassination, when they realized that they failed, they then said, form a vigilante group. They got 3 rogue teachers. And I'm sorry to use the word teachers because teachers are great people. But there were 3 rogue teachers who were recruited to try and form this vigilante group called Sofasonke, specifically to kill me. And they established it. One Sunday they came. And I saw them coming. And they said, listen, you have to run away. They're coming to kill you. I managed to escape. My house was put on fire. And I escaped. After escaping, I was not aware that the plan went, or they said originally this vigilante, it was to come and kill me and burn me in my house. So as I'm escaping, I'm running away. I'm happy that at least I have escaped. I don't give a damn about the house which I saw burning.
Your house was in
Bushbuck in Brooklyn. There's a village in Ekonu called Brooklyn next to next to the Maripscope radar system. And then I went to the Catholic Church where one of our advisors, Father Joseph of the Roman Catholic Church.
Yeah.
I said, Father Joseph, I was nearly killed and my house is on fire. He said, no, let me go investigate. When he came back, he came back with tragedy. He says, listen, it's not only a house which is burnt. 8 houses, as I'm talking to you, are burning. 8 houses, yes. Yeah. Whose houses now? He says, I don't know, but 8 houses are burning. Those 8 houses, they were houses, homes of the key young people I was working with to change the outlook of young people about South Africa, to bury the demon of tribalism, to bury the demon of and elevate the political consciousness of the young people. Yeah. They targeted the homes of those children. They didn't have houses, those boys. They put their parents' homes on fire, including my parents' house.
Yeah.
So on that day, they burnt 8. 8 houses. But I escaped. And then the next thing I was in Swaziland.
Okay.
Right?
Where are those young people you were working?
They are there.
Today?
They are there. Well, we lost one of the key. Okay. They killed during that time. They killed 2. They killed Matthew Stivela. Yeah. They killed the not Ripo Machad, Miriam Magagane. Okay. Yeah, Miriam Magagane. She was killed by those vigilantes. Okay. Now, when I'm in Swaziland, then I before they killed the 2. Yeah. I then sneaked out of Swaziland into South Africa illegal. I went to the South African Council of Churches. I said, South African Council of Churches, I'm asking you to arrange a meeting between the people who burned our homes, these vigilante groups. Because we have discovered that the leaders of those vigilante groups are teachers. Yeah. Right? Call the meeting of those people. Call Ramudike, the chief minister of Lebowa, to be part of that meeting. Let's go and meet and understand why did they burn the people's houses? Because these people, the houses they burned, these are the people who were leading the struggle against apartheid. Why did they burn? And indeed, Frank Chikan, Dr. Frank Chikan, which we call him Reverend Chikan. Yes. I spoke to him and he says, yes, you agree. Lucky enough, we were talking about that as the Council of Churches, that something needs to be done about that place. Now that you are calm, now we're going to do it. And indeed, that meeting took place in Bushbuck Ridge. And Ramudike, may his soul rest in peace, he accepted the invitation. Yeah. He was there. And these vigilantes, the leaders, the three teachers, they were there as well. Caesar, you know what they said in that meeting? They refused to stop their madness. They says, no, we're not going to stop the madness. Modipane is what is the term they will, is indoctrinating our children with his communist ideas. So the war continues.
Yeah. Hey?
So
that was tough. That was the second assassination attempt.
Yeah, that was the second assassination attempt. I retreated back to Swaziland. Okay. So when I'm in Swaziland, I'm reporting to those because I managed to smuggle out those 22 young people with me. I was with them in Swaziland because their homes were burnt and the police were looking for them. While we were there, we're still reminiscing about this, and I'm briefing them about the following day. We get a message. One of us has been killed. Matthew Stivela is killed by the vigilantes. After the South African Council of Churches tried to mitigate, to try to say, people, stop this. Don't allow the white men to do this to you. Yeah. You are fighting for your own liberation. And this guy triumphantly says the war continues. And I don't know, what do you call it when you go and burn your people's houses and you call it a war? You know, some people's definition of war. And this man is a teacher.
Yeah.
Right? Now, Caesar, fast forward. Yeah. I remained an enemy of apartheid. ANC is unbanned.
Yeah.
And then I'm called back to come back to South Africa. Amnesty is applied for me. They say, come back to South Africa because the ANC is re-establishing its infrastructure in South Africa.
Yeah.
Now, there are now regions. Mpumalanga, Eastern Transvaal, Northern Transvaal, and so on. You see, now the ANC is back. So the ANC's offices are established here. I was in Swaziland when they established the office here.
Okay.
Then I'm told in Swaziland to say, hey, we want you back to South Africa.
Yeah.
We want you to be part and parcel of the rebuilding of the structures of the ANC in the Eastern Transvaal.
So
I came back.
From what you're telling me, sorry,
Yeah.
just so that we catch up,
Right.
as young people and younger people than me.
Yes.
Maybe it's because you're telling the story from your point of view, but
Yeah.
it seems to me that you were part of the core senior leaders in the Eastern Transvaal, in the
I want
apartheid.
to tell the honest fact.
But obviously there were people you were working with.
Yes, I won't say we were senior. I think let's say I was one of the underground until I was forced to get out of the underground because of the tragedy of the witchcraft.
Yes.
Yeah, we're one of the front runners in the underground.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know whether you've heard about the Sukati brothers.
Yes. They're prominent.
Sipho Sukati, and his younger brother and all those others. And I spoke about the Middleburg guys. I spoke about Emelo guys. I spoke about Betrayal comrades and all those other things. There were multiple of them. Some of them, in terms of age, were older than us. Right?
Okay.
And again, in 1975, the first generation which joined MK, they were coming from Middleburg, Witbank, Chair Masilela, and others.
Oh, okay. No,
Right?
I just wanted
So
to get
there
to
is
that.
no way in which I could have said we were seniors. No, we're not seniors.
Yeah.
We're still young. Remember, I turned 30 in 1989.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was still a member of the ANC Psycho. We used to call it Psycho. You remember Psycho?
Okay.
Yeah, when the ANC was banned, Psycho was formed.
Yeah.
So I was a member of Psycho by that time. So I was a youth.
Oh,
Yeah.
1991, 1992. You are back in the country.
1990, I'm back in the country, and I'm given the responsibility to lead a desk called political education.
Yeah.
Right? And what was the role of political education was to first educate people about the history of the ANC, build a crop of educators to educate young people about the history of the ANC.
Okay.
Number two, popularize negotiations.
Okay.
At that stage, Caesar, if you remember,
The Codesa.
yes. At that stage, the youth league, the ANC youth league, or the Psycho, it was ANC youth league, was very angry that the ANC at Grootskir decided to suspend armed struggle. It was very bad. Until Mandela put his foot and said, we have suspended it because we want to give negotiations a try.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That fell on the political education desk to do that, to lead that.
Okay.
So in Mpumalanga, I was the head of the political education, and I led in terms of talking to comrades, trying to convince them. We debated about this thing and everything. And finally, we agreed that, yes, the leadership has given leadership. The armed struggle must be suspended. Okay. Let's give it a chance. So it was a formal appointment that I got before the ANC, even before, it was during the interim leadership
of the ANC.
Yeah, in Mpumalanga.
Okay. Yes.
After the ANC said the head office of Eastern Transvaal is going to be in Nelspruit, and then by the time I came in here, we had offices, and then we went forward.
Oh, that was before the first conferences.
Yeah, conferences came around November, December. Okay. But let me tell you what happens then. Around Matthew Posa
Yeah.
Remember, he was part of the 3 people who first entered South Africa.
Yes.
It was Zuma, it was Matthew Posa, it was Maduna.
Yes.
Penuel Maduna.
Yes.
Yeah, who came inside to test whether this thing is feasible. And then he was part of the legal team of the ANC.
Yes.
Yeah. The history of Matthew Posa is coming from Limpopo. Right? Okay. His father was a teacher here at Mayfair.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mayfair.
But Matthew Posa grew up in there, and then his primary school he ended in Limpopo.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he only came to Bushbuckridge when he did his secondary school at the high school called Maripi.
Yeah.
And then fast forward, he became one of the directors of the first law, Posa Mjapilu Makgoba. There were 3 Makgoba.
Yeah.
He's the one who was the judge president of Limpopo court.
Yeah.
But he left immediately. Then it was Sala Posa and Mojapil.
Yeah.
Now, so Posa came in and he was in Johannesburg when we established. But he opted that his branch is going to be in Kanyamazan, where he's coming from.
Okay.
So we then co-opted him into the structure of the ANC in Mpumalanga. Right. Fast forward, somewhere around August, September.
Yeah.
I got a phone call from head office that I'm needed there as a matter of agency. Okay. We're preparing for the first conference of the ANC, the first.
Okay.
At that stage, that leadership call from Mpumalanga was led by one comrade called Ntombi Shope, the daughter of Mark Shope, the stalwart of the ANC.
Yeah.
She was coming from Zanin.
Okay.
And then she was convicted for MK sins, and after serving her term, she couldn't return to Zanin because of harassment.
Yes.
She went and squatted with her sister in Bushbuckridge.
Okay.
She lost told.
Okay.
So when they tried to come together at national to talk about provinces, she was part of that meeting.
Yeah.
Only to find that they didn't have any other person who's coming from Mpumalanga or in the Eastern Transvaal.
Okay.
But she says, no, but I live there with my sister there. They said, oh, then in the interim call, we better appoint you.
Yeah.
So they appointed her.
Okay.
Right? Well, fast forward. Round about June, July, I get a phone call to say, no, they've taken a decision, and that phone call came from Matthew Posa.
Yeah.
They've taken a decision that I must return to South Africa. I must be part of this leadership call.
Okay.
I said, but there's an arrest warrant for me. They says, no. We're busy applying for your amnesty.
Okay.
They're refusing to give you amnesty. They say you must be charged because we have got a lot to answer.
Okay.
So they refused. By that time, they refused to give me amnesty. They said, no, you're going to be charged, but you'll be allowed to do your political work.
Okay.
So came back, and then they charged me, and then I started working. The call in Johannesburg, when I went in there, the old man Walter Sisulu, who was the leadership of the ANC call, went to see the doctor. And then they says, no, you are going to meet Tera Lukota. Yeah. So I met Tera Lukota. When I went in there, Tera says, look, there is a task we wanted to perform there. The leadership wanted to try and ensure that Matthew Posa becomes the chairperson of the ANC in Mpumalanga.
Okay.
So I said, Comrade Tera, I don't understand it. Why? He says, no, because it's an instruction. You are going to do it. I said, no, but Matthew Posa is known as a lawyer there. He was never part of us in the underground.
Yeah.
If he was in the underground, I don't know that. If he was. But I know him to be a lawyer. And indeed, he was involved in stopping, you remember that law firm stopped from Gangwane from being incorporated into Swaziland. Yes. It was that firm. And Matthew Posa was leading to ensure that that didn't happen. He was the briefing law attorney.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then after that, he left the country because in 1986, 85? 85.
Yeah.
And we were told that, no, they want to kill him because of that.
Okay.
So we said, oh, okay. Because they were killing lawyers. Remember, Grievous Mkengo was killed by that time, and his wife. I said, comrade leader, and talking to Tara, I said, comrade leader, I'm going to find it very difficult to convince comrades on the ground that this man must become the chairperson of the ANC. Because they're going to say, but he's not part of us. He was just a lawyer. He says, no, go and do it. You have the might of Bushbuck Ridge in that province. Go and do it. It's an instruction.
Okay. So it means by that time, leadership as well was not elected by the branches.
No, it was not elected by the branches. Yeah. It was still early. The branches were forming branches now, formalizing branches. There were no branches.
But obviously, eventually, when the conference takes place,
the branches were there.
Have been set up.
Yeah, the structure of the branches was set up.
Okay.
Every village was a branch.
Okay.
So that's why Bushbuck had more branches because it had more villages. Yeah.
Okay.
Than Nkomazi.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, if you talk about Dachakral, you were seen as one branch.
Yeah.
And going forward and so on.
Okay. Yeah.
So, indeed, I started working. I must say that the first person I confided to.
They give you that instruction.
Yeah.
You come back and you try to implement it.
I come back. The first person I went to see was Sipho Sokat because he was. We were together in the state of emergency. Okay. So I go to Sipho Sokat. I said, Comrade Sipho, there is this thing that they have given me. They say I must do it, and they say it's my responsibility. I must not share with anybody. I don't know how to handle it. He says, what is it? I said, they say we must encourage Matthew Posse to become our chairperson. He said, what? I don't know whether you met Sukas. He was a hardliner. He said, no, I'll never work with that man. You can do it on your own. Me, don't involve me. Yeah, clear. He said, no, don't involve me. And I spoke to Sam. They said, look, it's an instruction.
Yeah.
You'll have to do it. You're a soldier. Do it. So I started working now. So I confined my working around his name, around Bushbuck Ridge.
Yeah.
Using the might of those branches. Then when the time came, we put his name in there. He contested with dealership called Don Bishop.
Okay.
And the outcome, he beat her hands down. That comrades, from that day until she passed on, she never greeted me, she never spoke to me. She was very angry, and I don't blame her.
You betrayed her?
I betrayed her. In her understanding, I really betrayed her.
Yeah.
But she didn't know that I was given an instruction from her office, and I could not tell her because she would go to them and say, why do you do this for me? You make me to lead this thing behind my back, you give another instruction. So when you're in a war situation, you must die with the truth. Right? So that's how he became the chairperson of the ANC.
Okay.
Right? Now, the real struggles. Now, if you want to know why Mpumalanga is the way it is.
Okay, but who does he lead with the top positions? He becomes the chairperson, the deputy was...
The deputy was one guy called Crosby Money from Kosato.
Okay.
NUM, Crosby Money. He was coming from Secunda. Yeah, Crosby Money. I don't think you'll become, he was there for a short period.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then John Kuna became the secretary.
Oh, John Kuna. Okay.
Yeah. He became the secretary. And then I think Dr. Mamwepe, I think he became the treasurer.
Okay.
No. Sheila Stollen, one is either Dr. Mamwepe or Sheila Stollen.
Okay.
The sister of Don Bishop.
Yeah.
Became the treasurer and so on.
Okay.
Yeah. The rest is many of them, many comrades who became additional members. Oh. Now, I became the additional member, but my task was very, very important at that time because negotiations were still going on. Yeah. So they said, you stay there and you popularize negotiations. Okay. So it went forward. Indeed, conference came and Mathewposa became the chairperson. Okay. Comrades were very bitter. Bitter with me. How can you do something like that? I can't tell them that it was an instruction. I can't tell them. Yeah. Because according to the plan that some of us had, were the senior comrades to all of us in that generation that time. Yeah. It was Chair January Masilela.
From this region.
From here. He's coming from Middelburg.
Yeah.
This is the first crop of MK soldiers in that generation. Well, I don't know what is the generation is what? Is how many years? 15 years. Yeah, he's far older than me, Chair Masilela. Yes. In fact, he may be the generation of Mathewposa. Yeah, because Posa is 7 years older than me. Yeah. And then at that stage, Chair Masilela they are back in the country from exile. He was the secretary of the Communist Party in Mpumalanga. Okay. Yeah. So under normal circumstances, you can't vote him into the ANC. Okay. But we wanted to ask the Communist Party to release him to come and become the Secretary General. Yeah. To become the chairperson of the ANC. Yeah. But when that one happened, then it's off the records. Okay. Right? So he's in the Communist Party, but comrades are not happy. Are really not happy. So it is a battle I had to fight. To support Mathewposa against all the odds. I must say I took a beating for Comrade Posa. Yeah. I took a beating. He will not accept it. Because he would like to believe that the 5-year stint that Daddy was in exile and they even made him the MK commander there, made him a revolutionary. His argument will be like that. But it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. An appointment, you can't say because you're appointed to become a minister, therefore you're a revolutionary. No, it doesn't work like that. A revolutionary is born out of struggle. Right? And it's time.